Sorted. Updated tutorial on how to use my Openprint. Let's go. Whoop. What is my Openprint? Well, it is basically a protoflux organization tool that allows you to more neatly pack flux, unpack it, organize it, etc. And it does so in 2D and 3D space. First up, the UI of the Openprint. We can give a print a certain name, a color. We can specify the root of the print. This is the button for packing, which only shows up if is actual flux on the print. The unpack button, the button to switch between 2D and 3D mode, as well as two additional buttons to which we're going to come to later. Inside of print, we're going to find certain settings for the print, such as scaling all nodes at once, and virtually parenting the contents of the print to the target slot, which is for dynamic variables and dynamic impulses. Under functions, we have a bunch of stuff we're going to get to later. And inside of settings, we can set some settings like the grid design up here, as well as the color at which the print spawns at. Now, in order to actually use the print, we have to use some sort of tool. Doesn't matter what the tool is, it needs to be a tool, because otherwise I can point at the print all I want, it is not going to interact. Now, with the protoflux tool, when we point at the print while it is in 2D mode, you can see that the cursor appears and the thingy goes blue. That means that while we're pointing at this, every node we're going to place is going to be parented to the print. Like this. And we can increase it because the range goes a little bit outside of it as well. Now, in 3D mode, it does it based off proximity to the print. You can see that our tool can be a little bit away from the print as well. But, we can start working on our thingies in here. And that's it. No. Additionally, you may have noticed in 2D space these two arrows, which is basically a 2.5D. So we can move the entire snapping grid backwards and forwards. So like this, we now shoved it forwards by a layer. We can now start adding flux on this layer in order to, well, more neatly organize everything. And if we're done, we can go back to that layer, etc. Now, this selection that you've just seen is another thing that exists, but it works off gestures. So in order to use it, we actually have to press grab, trigger, and secondary. And then we can draw our box and select the nodes. This is the button to delete the selection, deselect it, and to duplicate it. And in order to move the selection, you're going to press grab and menu. And while holding both, you can now move the selection freely around. Once you're done, you either delete them or whatever. Now, what are these buttons all about? These are for quickly selecting common protoflux roots in either the world root, user space, or the avatar. In this case, I have one on my avatar. I can quickly unpack it, directly go to stuff like my classes, without having to whip out an inspector for something, etc. Now, this one down here, delete all nodes. Very clearly as it says, double click it in order to delete all the nodes on the print. And these two we're going to come back to in a second. Because now we're going to talk about packing. Not only can you pack just, your flux, you can actually have folders as well in order to better organize them. So, if I put a flux root in there, let's say I have some flux. When I pack it, you can see this panel up here on the right, where we can either save it into the root of the thingy, or we can create a folder. So we can now name it flux. Now we have the folder flux, save it in there. You can see it is inside of the folder flux. And if we press unpack, you can see there's our thingy again. Now, very important, if something was already in a folder, when you press pack again, it is going to show up in the last saved position. So you can just double tap it, and it's quickly going to pack it back in where it came from. Another thing you may have just noticed is that there are some weird symbols in front of these other unpack things. That's because this is Flux packed with a red print, with a Q print, and with the old version of my Openprint. And all of these, my print can actually open. So red print Flux, you can press this and it's going to unpack it. Very important though, even if you're going to pack it back, it's not going to be packed in back in the red print format. It's going to be in the Openprint format. So the red print cannot open this anymore, at least until Yoki adds that. Same with the Q print and same with my legacy print. But, there we have a red print. Now inside of here, we can pack it back in, flip, and that's it. Now, what if, we have some sort of object we want to work on? Like, let's say, another version of this print. And I want to quickly get to the root of this object. Then I can, while holding this object, press the unpack button, and it's gonna get the common root out of the object I just held. So I now have all of these folders, and I can now, unpack whatever I want to. Additionally, another thing that exists are simple prints. So let's say we're working on an idea, and we don't know, where it's sorry, where it's gonna be used on. As long as we don't have a root in here, it's gonna say pack into simple print, and we're gonna get a cube out of it. We can now save this cube and then reuse it later. And once we hold this and press the unpack button, similar to how we did it with the Openprint, it's gonna inject this in here again. Pick it again, and that's it. Another little thing that I overlooked, this on the left side here is in order to move the entire print around in case you may run into small space issues. Now, another thing that I have looked, in here we also have some basic flux. It was created without any like print whatsoever. But what if we want it on a print? Well, then it's very simple. It has to be packed in somewhere before. We take the slot in which the flux is packed into, put it into the root, go to functions, and after positioning our print in relation to where we would want these to be, we press transfer non-print flux. And it is going to grab all the nodes that are inside of this folder or inside of the slot and leave the slot behind in case, there are references or whatever on here. Now they are part of the print, and if we press the snap nodes to grid button, if we want them on a 2D grid, it's going to automatically snap them all to this grid. Now we can continue working on it. And that's our flux now on a print. We can pack it, and that's it. Afterwards, we can take care of this slot. Don't need it, so it's gone. And yeah, that is basically the print. I hope that you will enjoy creating things with it. Have a great time.